Here we are concerned with the change cycle and conscious growth. The change cycle begins and ends with consciousness. An individual bringing awareness to his life and focusing on all aspects of his being creates the conditions for profound changes within. As the individual in question grows in consciousness, so does their capacity to change their world. Change in consciousness leads to change in condition. Our condition at any moment is a reflection of our level of consciousness. Someone who is inner-directed and aspiring to a life of the highest fulfillment is a potential creator of new organizations and a dynamic force for change in existing organizations. Being conscious of the need for work on themselves, such people automatically cause profound changes in the world around them. To develop an awareness of our inner condition and to work to collect our energies and direct them towards the fulfillment of our highest purpose is a necessary responsibility of conscious growth. Change in condition leads to a change in the context in which we live and work. As we grow, we become influencers for change in our immediate environment. This conscious management of context can have a direct influence on creating positive outcomes. But it is the chemistry of our relationships with others that creates the glue which binds together and creates the basis for lasting success. Chemistry stands opposite consciousness on the vertical axis of the change cycle, underlining the fact that change in consciousness and its manifestation in the changed chemistry of life encounters is at the core of this work. It is also at this point that we connect directly with the polarity grid. Movement in the grid is directly influenced by our changes in the chemistry of our interaction with others, for changes in polarity are expressions of the fluctuation of chemistry. Your being attracts your life. You must engage with life and meet yourself in life. According to your consciousness, you transmit a specific chemistry. In moving round the change cycle from consciousness to chemistry, we have described the process which emerges from the turning within to seek the growth in consciousness, which constitutes a growth in being. In a further two-stage development, initially in the world of the organization, culture, and finally at the level of global consciousness, climate, leaders emerge who find a new way of working and create real change in the world. Over time, in organizations, this question of culture is manifest in the patterns which emerge in organizations. A typical chemistry develops associated with a particular group of people who meet regularly and work together. Large, mature organizations tend to lose vitality and become slow and rigid in their response to the challenges of competition and the customer. Organizations which do not reinvent themselves disappear. The challenge of perpetual renewal cannot be ignored. The conscious, sustained practice of positive chemistry changes organizational culture. Positive culture creates the conditions for fresh growth. By climate, we mean anything at the global level which is susceptible to change by this movement in consciousness, not just in the questions of the ecology or survival of species or global warming, but also in the political, social, and economic climate that we create in international relations. The deeper and wider this movement in consciousness is, the more powerful is its effect. The change cycle shows a circular process with the final completion of the movement returning to the start point, which is consciousness. All activity, all life is in consciousness. Therefore, the change process itself is a sustained movement in consciousness. The repetition of the process over time gives the shape of the spiral, which is the fundamental pattern of growth, reflecting the trinity of causal, sequential, and cyclical movements in nature. We can therefore envisage the positive change process as a continuously moving upward spiral, as the change cycle repeats itself, always with the same pattern, and yet always with a unique outcome, since consciousness is freshly alive in each moment.